Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Ryan with Iowa Classic Cars, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're in Northeast Iowa looking at a very special car. This is a true one-owner 1960 Pontiac Catalina Convertible. This car was white originally, and the owner painted it blue. But the cool thing is, the guy bought it brand new, and we have some documentation with that, as well as some photos of back in the day. It's got a really nice blue interior, all original car. Does need a top and some floor work over here. The rocker is gone, as well as the floor. The motor is a 389 Pontiac engine. It does turn, but it does not run. I'm going to pass the microphone over here to Russ, who is the original owner's son, who is selling it for him, and we'll talk about the car a little more. All right, Russ, the show is yours.
All right, yeah, this is a photo of my parents shortly after they bought the car, obviously when they got married, and my understanding is they went on a honeymoon down to Tampa, Florida to Busch Gardens, and they came back really sunburnt because they drove for a long ways and spent time with the convertible down. So that was one of the photos. This is really just right after he bought the car. He bought it in August. This is a photo in September of 1960.
Yeah, the date right there is September 60.
Yep.
Brand new car.
And just some additional photos of the car from September of 1960, just after he bought it.
He was very proud of it, for sure. I mean, beautiful car, brand new back in the day. And then, in addition to the pictures, we have something just as cool.
Sure, this is the original invoice from when he bought it in Nebraska. That's where my parents met, and where my dad went to mechanic school before they moved back to Iowa. So.
And he traded in a 1954 Ford. So this was definitely an upgrade from that old car, I'm sure.
Yep, and then the title in Iowa that he's got it.
So he bought it brand new in Nebraska, and then it's dated February 6, 1964. So this is when he brought it into Iowa. So it's been in Iowa 60 years.
Yep, it's been in storage since 1987. Before that, he drove it pretty routinely.
Yeah, and he was starting to do some body work here, it looks like. And he was starting to put a trunk pan in it, and just never got all the way to finishing it, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, there's the rocker and the floor, pretty rotten, unfortunately, right here, because the rest of the car isn't too bad. But nonetheless, we're going to load it up here, and we're going to try to get this motor, this 389 Pontiac, see if we can put some parts in it and see if we can get it to fire up again. Thanks, man, for working with me on this.
Yeah, you bet. Appreciate it.
So to begin here today, I've taken the liberty of changing the battery cables. The original ones were pretty dang corroded. It is kind of unusual that Pontiacs and Oldsmobiles had the stud up here on the inner fender, whereas Chevrolet went right down to the starter. Nonetheless, though, got a good ground here. So I'm going to hit the key, and we're going to test voltage at the coil. With the key on, we have power to the coil, so that's a good start. All right, now I've got my dwell leads hooked up. Black to negative, red to positive. Let's crank her over and see what we get. So I'll put that right there. So as we crank the engine over, we can see what we're doing here. All right, it's way off. But it's moving, so that's a good sign. While it's cranking, let's just throw some gas in it, just for fun, and see if she just pops over. or if the cap and rotor have to come off, and we'll clean those points. I do want everyone to know that before I started this video and before I changed out the battery cables, I did sand down the points a little bit, probably 5 or 10 seconds. Hadn't even messed with this thing yet, but sitting that long, you always need to scrub those points a little bit. But if she fires up, then we know we did a good enough job. And if not, we'll open it back up and we'll pull them points out of there and actually sand them and clean them. Give her a few. Here we go, 3, 2, 1. And it fired up, so obviously the points are decent enough where it's going to run, and don't need to order a new set. Because look at all the wires, everyone. I mean, they're dirty, they're old, and I know everyone watching these videos has been doing this longer than I've been alive, and there's no reason to film that because there's two pins that hold it down, and the points are the same as a small block Chevy. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Been sitting for 35 years, last tagged in 1985. Pop that cap, put a little sandpaper between the points, some fresh gas, and she's running. So I'm gonna see if we can get to run for a little longer here. And then I would like to see if the fuel pump is working and see if we can get this thing to idle. Nonetheless though, pretty cool. Keeping it inside definitely helped it all these years. What else is super cool, and I'm glad it's like that, is the metal line going to the carburetor has a fuel filter right here that goes down to the fuel pump. So I'm going to disconnect the inlet on the fuel pump. We'll disconnect the fuel filter, and I'll hook up my boat tank and my electric fuel pump right there. So no having to cut, no having to rely on the factory pump. Perfect scenario. I filled the bowl. Better give her a couple squirts. I can hear the accelerator pump is doing its job. Man, that's cool. All right, so obviously it's not going to run. It's not going to run on its stock fuel system, and I don't really want it to. So let's disconnect those lines. I'll grab some vice grips here because they're just the compression clips, and take that line off of there, and we'll run a boat tank to it. All right, so I've got my fuel pump hooked up here. Made some longer leads. Got it going down there. I did cut the hose. I'm not going to use that hose again anyways. It's hard and crusty and all that good stuff. So just cut it there going into the fuel pump. Took the hose off going out of the fuel pump. Got a new line going to my fuel pump and a boat tank. So when I touch the negative here, it works. So I'm going to fire this thing up. I primed it a little bit. Going to fire it up, then tuck this in there and let her run. So fingers crossed, it'll run and idle. All right, let's try this again. idling. No fuel leaks. Exhaust sounds pretty good. Let's check the lights. Oh yeah, lights work. How about turn signal? It's working on the dash. And let's check the other turn signal. That one works. Oh yeah, this thing's awesome. Our dwell is pretty far off. We're about 45 degrees of dwell, but you know what? It's running really smooth. I'm not gonna mess with it. That is truly amazing. All right, time to shut it off. Oh, turn off the fuel. Pretty dang cool. Sitting that long, a 10-second scrub of the points, and it idles. It's not leaking fuel anywhere that I can tell. Radiator hose has a spring in it, so can't tell if there's any fluid in it or not, but it is cold. The Indian head is lit up right here for the high beams. Man, everything works on this car. It's a real shame that it's just so rusty, or I'd drive this thing around right now. What an awesome car. If I could safely sit in this car, I totally would right now. But let me crawl under here. There's no floor or rocker left at all. And I'm afraid that as soon as I try to sit in this thing, it's just gonna fall apart. Now you, on the other hand, buddy, you can hop up in there. That's amazing. I wonder if the horn works. That is so cool. Everything works, just not the floor pan. You know what, I might as well just get the dwell correct. I'm here, it runs good. So it's hard to kind of film this because I don't have four hands, but the way to set dwell, if you've never done it before, is your dwell meter, which is right here, has a black and a red. Black goes to the negative side of the coil. Red goes to the positive side of the coil, or power. Get a little Allen key, and there is a adjustment screw in there. And with it running, you just put the screw in there and turn it back and forth. Well, actually, you want to go either forward or backward. Watch your dwell meter, and you want to get to about 30 degrees of dwell. So we're going to do that here, and we're going to get it to right there, which is 30 for the 8-cylinder. And then she'll run like a top, and we'll be good to go. I'm watching the dwell meter, everyone. Check this out. Smooths out at like 40 degrees, so I'm just going to leave it alone. It did quiet up. The idle did kick up a little bit as well. It smoothed itself out, but I think right there is about its sweet spot. You also know a car is really nice, well, all things considered, when the convertible top rack, which on these 59s and 60s are so prone to rusting and seizing. And look at this. It does need a header bow. I mean, that's no question. But the fact that one guy can pretty much lay the whole thing down. I did try the pump, and it did not work, which is to be expected on these cars. Yeah, I mean, I could be here all day doing this, but nonetheless, I mean, the whole thing moves. And that is so rare on a 5960 GM convertible. So I'm gonna put this back down for the time being. But you can definitely tell the car was inside its whole life. I don't know how the floors got to be the way that they are, because everything else is decent. I'll show you all up close here. I mean, the quarter windows and the stainless are okay. I mean, this top rack, look at the paint. I mean, you still see a lot of original paint. The tack strip is nice and malleable. It's just kind of crazy that the body's so bad. I mean, hell, the convertible only back seat, really nice shape. Just goes to show you what Iowa Rust can do. Everything can be perfect, the motor can run, interior's nice, and the body just falls apart. All thanks to the salt and the sand and the grime that they put on the roads, especially being an Iowa car. The Midwest, we're very prone to rust, and everyone knows that who lives in the Rust Belt. Also, look at the windshield. I mean, just how nice. There's no delamination. There's a little bit of browning, but I mean, hell, this is a nice windshield. Look at the gasket. I mean, no cracks. There's a few, I suppose, but no cracks. Just a hell of a nice piece of glass. Everything on this car is nice except the lower body. If you could find a nice tub or something, you could take this car and put one nice car back together. Just find a 60 or even a 59 Catalina, or preferably a 60 Catalina with a nice body, but all the interior trim, the rack, snap trim, all that stuff's gone. You could take this car and have a very nice parts car, or if you want to, and you're up to the challenge, fix this one. I don't know yet what the plan is for this. This is a super awesome car. I've had a few 5960 GM convertibles. One never in this good a shape where it ran and the interior was decent. Most times the bodies I had were fairly okay, but the interiors are missing and no motor and transmission. So it's kind of weird that now the body is not very good on this car, but everything else is decent. So we'll see. I've got an empty rack. Maybe I'll put it over there on the rack. But yeah, for now, guys, if you owned this car, what would you do with it? Would you fabricate your own floor pan, rocker panels, all that good stuff? Put this car back on the road just like it is? Or would you use it as a donor/parts car? And finally, to wrap out the video here, we've got springs finally. I tried it. I did not want to mess with it, so I paid a shop to put them in. And I'm glad I did, because now it's done, and the last thing to do is rebuild the steering box. So, like I said, if you guys own this car, what would you do with it? It is pretty cool. The lights work and all that good stuff. I don't know yet. I'm on the fence. I mean, it could be fixed for sure, but with a convertible, once the rockers are gone, it's very hard to get them straight and square again. But I know it can be done. So let me know down below if you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a thumbs up, and if you're brand new, make sure to subscribe, as I'm always finding cool stuff like this. Barns, garages, out in the weeds, and you never know what I'm going to find next. So thank you all for watching. My name is Ryan with Iowa Classic Cars, and I'll see you guys next time.